Test 1, 2, 3, 4. We're good, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Will. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Township of Nipissing meeting for Tuesday, March 19th. You'll note that this is an amended agenda because we received information at 5:15 after the agenda was already produced. But we've already talked to Municipal Affairs and they've said that we can proceed with this amended agenda at this time. So you'll notice we have number 8 now, which is a closed session because of litigation or potential litigation. So that will come up later on. Otherwise, we'll start with number 1. And first of all, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
Yes.
Seeing Councillor Foote. Thank you, and we'll look at that when we get to accounts to pay. We'll start with committee reports, and we'll start with Councillor Yam.
I don't have anything this evening, Mayor Piper.
Okay, thank you ever so much. Councillor Foote.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Curtin.
I have a library committee report for March 18th. The audit report was not presented as it was scheduled. She forgot, so we're scheduling probably for Monday, next Monday. So also the OTF grant, Chisholm has applied for it. That'll be a $25,000 grant should we get the whole thing. Purpose is to install a heat pump, lights, and better accessibility, as well as 8 hours a week for 52 weeks for extra help. We're expecting a decision by July. The Voodoo Partnership. It looks like the partnership with Peter Gooley and company is off to a very good start with the expectation that we will partner with even more events in the future. So far, everything we collaborated on has been a roaring success, and we thank the Voodoos yet again for their dedication to community and looking forward to our continued relationship. The March break events were very successful with record participation, so we're quite pleased with that. Provincial Seniors Grant, we will be applying for the grant with the hope of having once every 2 weeks social with refreshments and light snacks, as well as once every 2 weeks health and wellness seminar for the seniors. We haven't received anything yet on the Canada Suburb Jobs Grant, but we're keeping our fingers crossed on that one. Property Committee, the plans for the quiet room are out and quotes are starting to come in. So we got one quote was a volunteer to do the HVAC stuff. So we're very happy with that. Budget, the amended drafts was accepted in a vote of 6-1. There's a substantial increase that reflects current costs of just about everything foisted on us by players outside of our current control. And professional development, the library will be closed on April 12th from 10 to 12 for professional development, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And when you said about the Voodoos, I'm sure the audience and everybody would like to know that they'll be back in Powassan next Tuesday and Wednesday to start their playoffs, and the museum, I'm sure, pardon me, the library and recreational committee will be there to support them. So we'll move on to Councillor Butler.
Nothing this time.
I didn't forget you. Okay, now I had to defer one report, so I have 3 tonight. The first one is for East Home, and East Home is one of our major levies that we pay. So I'll just point out in funding, we received some funding for behavioral support. And that's BSO, that's for Alzheimer's and dementia patients. We got money for equipment and training fund, and we're applying for funding for a living classroom for training because so many of the short-term PSWs coming out now need more training in a senior's home. They did the budget presentation and community services support program. They've got a base funding increase of 2% for salaries, 3% for the second year. They're looking at van replacement, and that's for April 1st, and that's a van that picks you up and takes you to hospital visits, doctor's appointments, whatever. Construction project. We have finished up the 5.3 million construction project at East Home. They're now providing access to all networks. The configuration is not complete, but we have access. Before they couldn't turn up the heat or turn down the heat. It was consistent. Now we can actually do that. Contracts, compliance, regulatory changes, training for administrators and time to complete the program. It's difficult. They're going to extend it to 2 years from a 1-year program. And the other thing is they're going to do the second reading about amending the criminal code so that volunteers, board members can be considered charged criminally for, well, I'll call them misdeeds. Emergency preparedness. We have now set up mutual assistance with Nipissing Manor and policy updates. We have a workplace violence prevention program updated, environmental services updated, infection prevention control. And as of yesterday, unfortunately, South 3, there was a COVID outbreak, so it is shut down right now. So again, COVID rears its ugly head. Our next meeting for East Home is the general meeting, the AGM meeting, and that is March 27th. Everybody's invited. Next, Pines. In the newsletter, it's not the Pines, but we all know it as that in the town of Powassan. They've accepted an RFP for architectural drawings. They're going to do this through their funding, and that is coating on storm drains, placing steel ceiling tiles. They hope to put in an automatic door for the seniors, but unfortunately it isn't covered, and it would increase taxes and rent, so that's not going to happen. They are putting out tenders for plumbing services, a discussion on gardens and volunteer programs. And Steve, you did apply for the seniors community grant. We are not going to because we think 2 in 1 community would lessen our chances of getting it. So it's all in the library's board. And we're discussion about our audited statement. It's not completed yet. The manager's report. We went through Save On Energy and they received 11 new refrigerators for free. They've been supplied. We just have to put in the, and we also have 3 freezers as well, and we have to put in the warranty for that. We've got a long-term elevator evaluation. Elevators are incredibly expensive, and this one they said should be good in the long term, so that's great. They've got a sand sweeping quote that we're checking to see if we can pigtail or piggyback on the community. And they're looking at getting a payroll software quote because everything has to be done by hand now. A financials transaction report, financials income statement, and the next meeting is April 16th. The residents committee asked that we purchase a generator that would generate for 20 apartments. And instead, we're looking at buying those emergency light bulbs. Because that's all we can afford, and they're $19 each. Finally, for those of you water related, and there are a few here. Sturgeon Nipissing French River Advisory Board, I sit on that. We were at the Sturgeon River Museum. We had presentations from the MNRF, OPG, and Public Works Canada. Despite historically low precipitation rates and snow levels, the group seems cautiously positive about the water situation. Usually the dams are closed on April 1st, but on urging from a number of people, they have already been closed. And after two failed attempts to close the Little Chaudière Dam, tried to go in by four-wheeler, then they tried to go by airboat from West Nipissing. And the following day, on the Friday, they went in by helicopter and closed the Little Chaudière Dam. And as soon as they do, we notice the increase of water on Lake Nipissing. They're gonna start trying to fill the lake. I know here that in the last about 12 days, it's gone up 13 3/4 inches. But they continue to do this cautiously because it's never, ever been open in parts yet. It's never had historically low snow like this. And the information that John Paul and I got today was that they will continue to cut discharge out of the dams as they will fill the reservoir. They anticipate the lake will rise approximately 1 to 1.5 centimeters per day. And if that's the case, it'll hit the low rate by the 24th of May. So we'll see if they're lucky. And it depends again on precipitation and what we get, because with the exception of the snow out there today, there's nothing left here. So that's the end of my report. Next, we adopt the minutes of the meeting. So I need a mover and a seconder, and I'll jump across to Councillor Butler, Councillor Kirky. It's number R 2024-057, moved by Councillor Butler, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that the minutes of the council meeting held March 5th, 2024 be adopted as published. All in favor? Carried. Right. So at our last meeting, we received reports, staff reports on a number of issues, and we opened that to anybody that wanted to have a delegation to come regarding, and the first one is number 4, and that's we have 2 people presenting on this, and I'll turn around and we'll have their input and you can have it. And the first one is Murray and Patricia Byers regarding non-compliant zoning issues of Lynx Beach. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council and municipal staff. My wife and I have lived at 691 Sunset Cove Road for the last 12 years. Well, it'll be 12 years in April. When we purchased the property, it was owned shoreline residential, as was the property abutting us. The portion of which is owned by Garnet Hughes, and the other larger pieces, the shore road allowance owned by the municipality. Everything has been great, I'd say, for the last 10 years there. We've lived in harmony with our neighbors across the street as cousins and friends, until just this past year. Well, the year prior to, I guess, 22, 23, that winter, he used, Garnet was using that area to pull his commercial ice huts through. At the time, we looked the other way in order to try to keep the peace with our neighbors. Subsequently, Garnet sold his outfit, his commercial operation, and then he proceeded to lease that area to another commercial outfitter. So that's when we took issue with it, given that it's owned shoreline residential, hauling 23, 24 ice huts to start with. And all the associated activity that goes with the commercial ice hut operation was a little bit too much for us to digest and accept. So we've put forward our complaint, and that's why we're here tonight. This new access that was created was done by someone. Trees were cut, stumps were removed, sand was imported to create the ramp along the shoreline. I have pictures, if I'm allowed to submit those, wherever they are here. I'm shaking. I'm out of practice.
Pretty exciting.
Yes. So those, if I may,
I'll just.
yeah,
pass
those
it
are,
around.
that shows sort of where the sand was dumped to create the ramp and the destruction of the weeds. That wasn't restored there, right? It was just this little piece of thing. The past 40 years, the creek that Mr. that Garnet owns at the far end was used to get the huts out. And it's only been the last 2 years, like I say, that the issue has been, I don't know, come to light. What else we need to know here? Yeah, prior to that, even Garnet himself, when he didn't operate and his creek was thawed, he would trailer his huts from his property down Birch Grove to the Birch Grove access. Suddenly now this other people are dragging their huts down the road, unsafe for motorists on the road, not good for our municipal roads, getting chewed up. It wouldn't be bad if they did it when there's snow on these roads, but quite often they're doing it when there's gravel, bare roads, right? So there's chunks of Teflon, nails, they're pulling on tow straps, not a solid hitch. They're wide loads that you should typically require a permit for. Any of us, if we were trailering a wide load, we would need a permit. Somehow these ice hut operators are exempt. I did, what else we have? Yeah, okay. Another couple of pictures here just to show what we're talking about. The access. It's sort of on a blind curve. When you're leaving, there's a double curve. So you can picture in the winter time with a snowstorm, people are coming and going from there, trucks, ATVs, snowmobiles. It's just a matter of time before somebody's hit. It's inevitable that in a snowstorm or even decent visibility, it's not a good location for an entrance. To that point, I called the OPP just recently, January 9th, officer responded. I have yet to get a feedback what their position is. It was Officer Jeffrey Rosa, and I have an incident number here if anybody wishes to follow up. I don't know if we have a community policing contact liaison.
Not yet.
No. And Rosa put it off to Officer LeBoeuf and Officer Carmichael. I've reached out to them. An email was sent via their dispatch. I've yet to hear back from them. I was just curious what the position is. I've heard conflicting information that the municipality is okay with this, that we pull ice huts down the road. Nobody in this room has said that, by the way. Third parties.
That's not our jurisdiction.
Yeah, no, for sure. No. Obviously, I guess my concern is too, if we're allowed this to continue, this year it was one operator with about 25 huts. Next year, who is in Fish Bay because they can't get onto their access point? Is it South River? Those other guys like Dennis Johnson's outfit, his nephew bought, they can't get out on Fish Bay. Are they gonna migrate over to Garnet's and then try to use this access? It's just not compatible with residential setting. Or the zoning, current zoning for sure. So the resolutions that were passed were brought forward last week, 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure about the terminology. There was a resolution that's on the agenda. And there were two parts to it. One was to barricade the area off in a way that would allow for snowmobiles and ATVs to still access the lake. And the second part was to rezone the beach area because it's non-conforming as shoreline residential, because parks and public spaces should be zoned in an open space zoning. So speaking to that, the barricade idea is great for us, would stop the bungalows from getting on the lake. If I was really, I guess it would really make us super happy is if there was nothing could get through there, no vehicles of any sort, ATVs, snowmobiles. And I know that sounds harsh, but I think council and mayor can be comfortable in knowing that there is another access point at the eastern point of Lynx Beach. I can find my other pictures. 7 and 8. There is room there to get a snowmobile on and onto the lake. ATVs likewise. People do use that. It's not beside anybody's property. It's across the road from Mr. Hughes's house to the left. So by blocking off or barricading the area that we're talking about, it's really not going to impact the community. They still have access to the lake.
I'm not aware of who owns that property. Is that township property or is it Mr. Hughes?
Yeah, Garnet may be able to speak to that. It's awfully close to the barricade, so it is an access point.
Okay.
Who owns it, I don't know.
That's important.
So ideally, we could put a barricade of some sort, extend the guardrail up around the curb to ensure public safety, that snowmobiles aren't going to be coming onto the roadway and all of that sort of thing, right? You guys get my point there. Failing that, we can't afford to put the metal guardrail, which is understandable, a rock barricade of some sort placed in a nice neat way that would fit in with the topography there and look decent. We had some vegetation between the rocks and reestablish the park-like setting, like, you know, that could be there. And then the community could obviously have access to that, right? What else do I have to mumble on about? I think we're almost done. Okay, so that's the barricade portion. And then just keeping in mind if it's absolutely necessary to rezone because it's non-conforming. Not to dry all of a sudden, put peanut butter on it.
I've got some hand sanitizer.
Yeah, so with the zoning, currently has issue with the way the beach is being used. We're at the public park. So I guess my position would be just leave the zoning alone. Let's not open that can of worms. There's no need to go down that road. The beach has been there for everybody. Everybody knows it's a beach. Wolf Lake's a beach. We know that's a beach. Nobody's complaining. I'm not complaining about the beach. I love to hear the kids out there swimming and people using it. So I think that's a can of worms that we don't need to open, but that's not for me to say. Oh man, I should brought some water. No. What else? I just maybe like to reflect on when the official plan was brought in 2018. I would suspect we had paid for planners. We had municipal staff go over the official plan. For some reason, that wasn't picked up, and I think it was intentional to avoid zoning these areas commercial. Because with the commercial designation, or that within the open space designation, there's commercial activities that are permitted. It just, again, opens a can of worms that, do you really want to deal with that? Do you want chip stands down on Lynx Beach? There's enough traffic and obstructions with traffic. You know, there's a whole slew of things that then you'd have to contend with. So having said that, just let's leave it alone. Please. And then that will definitely rule out any further ice hut activity. And if you must rezone it, then there's a whole whack, shall we say, of sections within the official plan. Page 3, page 12, and on page 48, that speak to rezoning and keeping in mind adequate buffering between existing uses and the new zoning. There's sections in here that speak to compatible uses. We have there's information in your official plan that could guide us in rezoning if it was absolutely necessary, and doing so in a way that could appease everyone possibly.
Mr. Byers, I'll have to
Yes.
cut you off now.
That's perfect.
But I will thank, is that for your benefit?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the dawn, but.
Didn't set the watch, but I'll thank you and your wife for coming. And know that no decision is being made tonight because we want to listen to both parties and then we will move from there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And now the other delegate, Scotty Hughes.
How you doing, folks? I'm the other part of the issue, I guess, so.
Evidently.
Yeah, so first of all, I have to say, I definitely was pulling ice huts down through there the last 2 years because my creek is not frozen. Now, if I knew there was a zoning issue, did not know that I could not pull ice huts down through my property, through my road shore allowance, did not know I could not do that. If I could not do that, I won't do it. Simple as that. Pretty simple fix. Just say you can't do it. Can't do it. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but I do own property that butts up to the road shore allowance, which is in front of my property. Now, I've never seen it before. I don't know if you can barricade me off that I can't get access to the lake from my piece of property. I don't know. You're the people who do this, so I don't know. You'll have to figure that out. Once again, if I can't run ice huts through there, that's whatever. Just tell me I can't do it, can't do it. I do have a personal ice hut that I would still like to access my property. I do own the property onto the lake, as well as my kayaks, stuff like that. So that's what all I have to say about that. One thing I will say that I don't know when you're discussing all this or whatever, but I'm away for 2 weeks. So if we could do this 4 weeks from now, if we have to make a decision, which would be April 16th. So I'd like to be at the meeting when you come to a resolution or whatever you do. I'm just not here, right?
Yep,
So,
yep. Now, just the only question, you said that before you used to go out the creek
yes,
and now it's because of,
well, the last 2
The way
years
the
it hasn't been
weather is,
frozen. I come in the creek, this year I come in the creek, never come up there. After the first little episode we stopped using it after about 7 days. Never used it. I used it a couple times with my bike because I still access it
right,
with my bike and my snowmobile.
but otherwise wouldn't be safe to haul ice bundles across there.
They come up there, yeah, but not down. Well, just the last 2 years.
Right.
I've been there 17 years, last 2 years. Actually, Mr. Byers helped me pull ice huts down through where I was going. As a friend, helped me. He was in the bike with me, so
And then
I did not know there was an issue, put it that way, till this year, and the issue arose. And like I said, if you don't want me hauling ice huts through, all you have to do is say yes. I'm pretty easy to get along with, or no, not yes, you know. But I'd still like to, it is my property. I would still like to use the shore road allowance, which I think I have a right to. I don't know. I don't know how things work. Without buying it. I don't think I have to buy it. I don't think you don't even want to sell it to me. And I don't know the rules on the road, or on the shore allowance in front of people's property. I have no clue. Never looked into it, so.
I'm sure we'll clarify
Yeah,
that
you can
before
figure it
any
out.
decisions.
And then, like I said, if you could do that on the 4 weeks from now, that'd be great.
We can do that if that's good for you too.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
thanks for your time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen. So we'll look at that in 4 weeks, but we'll discuss and you can talk to staff and see how we want to go and we'll drop a resolution to be dealt with at that time. So now we get to number, proposed town hall meeting. Okay, now, you've all read the staff report. I think we've gone over, we looked last week, we talked about having this outside. It seems it would be difficult, very difficult to have it outside. we hope that we can host enough people in here that we could still do it. And some people might, and we'll go over how we're going to do it and everything like that at a later date. But we just want to get that out so that, you know, people can be ready and excited about coming on July 17th. And I know they had a very successful one in Bondfield lately, and we'll, you know, piggyback and see how theirs went. I see their representative is here, so there's no loss of life, so that's positive. So I need a mover and seconder. Okay, this side is Councillor Yem. Councillor Foot, thank you. It's number R 2024-058, moved by Councillor Yem, seconded by Councillor Foot, that we receive staff report proposed town hall meeting and that we accept the recommendations. The council approves the community outreach survey for circulation as presented. All in favor? Carried. And that will come out in the near future. Now, as mentioned earlier, we received communications at what time today?
5:11.
5:11. Unfortunately, that's traditionally after the staff, after the office is closed and staff is gone, but I thank our dedicated staff for being there and receiving this and getting information necessary for us. Because of that, because of impending litigation, we now will have to go to closed session so that you can so you know what you're able or not able to do as per our lawyer. So number 8, and this is number 059, and need a mover and a seconder, Councillor Butler and Councillor Kirky. Councillor Kirky. It's number R 2024-059, moved by Councillor Butler, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that this part of our meeting will be closed to the public as authorized by section 2392E of the Municipal Act 2001 C25 for consideration of the following subject matter: E, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality, council to review a notice of legal proceedings. It is
7:09.
7:09 PM. All in favor? Carried. So staff and visitors, you're invited to leave now, but we will be coming back later with number 9 after closed session. If you'd like to wait somewhere and come back. Staff, I assume you're not coming back.